Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Frontiers in Research. In this episode, we hone in on flooding and how these events can be managed to reduce their impacts in rural and urban England. This seminar was led by Dr. Ian Pattison, an Associate Professor at the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society at Heriot-Watt University. Dr. Pattison spends most of his research time in the field and around rural farms across the United Kingdom, with his studies largely focused on hydrogeology. 70 flood warnings were issued across England in the latter part of 2019, with large parts of the country submerged underwater. Yorkshire, Derbyshire, Gloucestershire, Nottinghamshire, Lincolnshire, Warwickshire and Worcestershire were the worst hit. A lot of shires. Flooding and wet weather are slowly becoming more and more synonymous with the UK, and it only seems that floods are going to become more frequent, especially for low-lying East England. Flooding is costly to agricultural land and people's properties. They can cause delays in and reduction of crop harvest. If the soil is too wet, it can result in poor conditions for crops to grow. And rivers bursting their banks in close proximity to urban areas can cause damage to local economies and likely have long recovery processes, which aren't great for small businesses or schools or people's homes. Dr. Pattison highlighted that where flood management can be implemented, it should be, for the important reasons that I've just highlighted. Natural flood management is when natural processes are used to reduce risk of flooding and land or soil erosion. Examples of this include restoring bends to straightened rivers, reducing the speed of their flow, and increasing the capacity at which a river can hold. Another method is changing the way land is managed, so soil can be used to absorb more water, such as implementing vegetation, such as trees. Another is creating acceptable floodplains, where rivers can burst their bank, but to a point where they're not damaging or encroaching on people's land or property. Natural flood management works best when a catchment-based approach is taken. This is where a plan is developed to manage the flow of the water along the whole length of the river, from head to tail, or from where water is accumulated in the catchment area and is emptied into the sea. This way, natural processes can be used upstream and on the coast to complement engineering flood defences in populated areas, such as walls and weirs. Dr. Pattison highlighted that there were 4 key variables that need to be addressed in order to have success in natural flood management. Increase the storage of the land. How much water can be held by the land and how can you increase it? Can we use ponds or, as I've mentioned before, floodplains to hold this water away from important land? Increasing catchment and channel roughness. Just like I've mentioned before with the increasing meandering of a river, these two slows the flow of the river by making it travelling a further distance or simply just by creating vegetation that causes roughage and slows it down. Increasing losses. This method tries to increase the amount of water that goes into the ground and is extremely important for agriculture. Compaction of soil enhances water runoff and is very detrimental to crop yield, so maintaining an improved soil structure is really important for farmers to understand. Desynchronizing peak flows from tributaries. Slowing down tributaries that feed into the main river stream can significantly reduce flood peaks. When you've got a rainfall that accumulates in the catchment area and feeds to different tributaries that then feed into the main river body, it's important to try and break up peak flow. By segregating tributaries or slowing them down, there will be a reduced chance that there's one big event that can burst the river's banks. Natural flood management not only reduces flood risk, can also achieve multiple benefits for people and wildlife, helping restore habitats, improve water quality, and helping make catchments more resilient to the impacts of climate change and enhanced variability and frequency of flooding events. I'm going to finish up this talk on the seminar with a few of my thoughts on the topic. Dr. Pattison presented to us, at its core, a very simple way of thinking about how to manage floods. It may not require huge engineering or a massive amount of money to come up with solutions to managing floods. Ultimately, all it takes is a greater understanding of how water is collected and then dissipated throughout a landscape. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of soil and how important it is in absorbing water, transporting water, and I think that's one of the main points because he is trying to help the rural landscape deal with flooding. Flooding is inevitable and probably will become more frequent, but by understanding a little bit about natural processes that manage water by themselves, we can apply that. Thank you for getting to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed the topic and would like to find out more, there's further reading in the description. If you're interested in any geographical or geological topics, then feel free to check out the rest of the series, and hopefully it'll be something you like. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.